Well, actually, yesterday I was smoking again. Today I'm smoking still.
Chandler isn't afraid of failure. He's afraid of being measured. Every joke lowers the stakes, because being taken seriously would mean being judged for who he actually is. Chandler Bing is the perpetual joker of Friends, the one who can't sit through a heartfelt moment without undercutting it, the one who turns his own pain into a bit, his own fear into a one-liner, his own life into material. And for a long time, it works. People laugh, tension breaks, uncomfortable truths get buried under timing and wit. But beneath the humor is something quieter, something he doesn't name, a terror of evaluation, of being looked at without a shield, of someone deciding he's not funny enough, not smart enough, not worth the effort. So humor becomes his armor, not just a personality trait, but a defense system, a way to be visible without being vulnerable, a way to exist in rooms without ever really being in them. This is the core psychological theme: humor as avoidance of evaluation. Jokes don't just ease anxiety, they dissolve expectations. If you're always laughing, no one asks you to be anything else. If you're always deflecting, no one can pin you down long enough to measure what you're actually made of. And for someone terrified of being found lacking, that feels like survival. This video explores how avoiding seriousness delays adult identity, how you can be loved, surrounded, successful even, and still never become someone, because becoming someone requires letting people see you without the jokes. And for Chandler, that's the most dangerous thing he can imagine. Chandler's baseline behavior is sarcasm in every context: emotional moments, professional decisions, relational milestones. He jokes through his parents' divorce, through job dissatisfaction, through falling in love, through fear of commitment. It's not situational, it's constant, a reflex so ingrained that he barely notices when he's doing it. His core vulnerability is the fear of judgment and inadequacy, not failure in the obvious sense, but the quieter terror that if people really look at him, really assess him, they'll decide he's not enough, not interesting enough, not valuable enough, not worth choosing. So he never gives them the chance. He stays in motion, stays funny, stays just out of reach so people can't reach him. Underneath is an internal conflict he doesn't fully acknowledge, a desire for acceptance versus a fear of being assessed as insufficient. He wants to belong, to matter, to be taken seriously. But seriousness means risk. It means standing still long enough for someone to form an opinion. And opinions, in Chandler's mind, are always judgments, always verdicts, always the moment someone realizes he's less than they thought. So seriousness becomes a psychological threat, not because it's hard, but because it's exposing. Because the moment you stop joking, people start evaluating. And evaluation is the thing Chandler has spent his entire life avoiding. Evaluation anxiety, in simple terms, is the fear of being seen without a safety net. It's the terror that if someone really looks at you, if they assess who you are without distractions or deflections, they'll find something unworthy. So you never let them look. You stay moving, stay performing, stay one step ahead of being pinned down. At the core are three internal forces. First, shame sensitivity. Chandler carries a quiet belief that who he is, fundamentally, isn't enough. Not because of anything specific, but because somewhere along the way, he learned that being seen meant being criticized, that vulnerability meant exposure, that the safest way to exist was to never let anyone close enough to judge. Second, fear of responsibility and permanence. Being taken seriously means being held accountable. It means your choices matter, your commitments stick, your identity becomes fixed. And for someone who's terrified of being measured, permanence feels like a trap. If nothing is serious, nothing is binding. If you're always joking, you can always claim you didn't really mean it. Third, an identity built around not being defined. Chandler doesn't know who he is, and maybe that's on purpose, because the moment you define yourself, you give people something to evaluate. You become measurable. You become someone who can be found lacking. So he stays undefined, stays fluid, stays hidden behind humor so no one, including himself, has to confront what's actually there. Humor functions as a preemptive self-critique. If Chandler makes the joke first, no one else can. If he points out his own flaws, his own awkwardness, his own inadequacy, then other people's judgments don't land the same way. He's already said it. He's already controlled the narrative. And control, even if it's self-deprecating, feels safer than exposure. It's also a way to control how others see him. If people are laughing, they're not analyzing. If they're entertained, they're not assessing. Humor keeps the focus light, keeps relationships surface level, keeps expectations low, and low expectations can't be disappointed. The illusion Chandler lives in is simple. If nothing is serious, nothing can fail. If you never try, you can never be judged for falling short. Constant joking delays commitment, emotionally and practically. Chandler struggles to choose a career, to define what he wants, to commit to Monica without spiraling into panic. Every serious decision feels like a verdict on who he is. So he avoids them. He jokes through them. He deflects until someone else makes the choice for him. Relationships struggle to deepen when seriousness is avoided. Monica loves him, but she also has to fight through layers of deflection to reach him. Every time she tries to have a real conversation, he turns it into a bit. Every time she asks him to be vulnerable, he makes her laugh instead. It's not cruelty, it's terror. The terror that if he stops performing, she'll see him clearly and decide he's not worth it. The psychological costs pile up quietly. First, stagnation. Chandler stays in a job he hates because choosing something else would mean being serious about what he wants. And being serious about what he wants means risking judgment for those choices. So he stays stuck, comfortable, undefined. Second, low self-trust. When you spend your whole life avoiding evaluation, you never learn to trust your own judgment. Chandler doesn't know if his choices are good because he's never let himself make real ones. Every decision feels monumental because he's never practiced believing in himself. Third, anxiety when roles become real. Fatherhood, marriage, career shifts. The moments when life demands seriousness and humor can't deflect anymore. Those are the moments Chandler panics because he's built an entire identity around not being taken seriously. And now life is asking him to be someone, not a punchline. Someone. Humor protects comfort, but blocks growth. It keeps Chandler safe from judgment, safe from failure, safe from being seen. But it also keeps him from becoming, from knowing himself, from trusting that who he is, without the jokes, might actually be enough. Avoiding seriousness also avoids self-definition. You can't become someone if you refuse to stand still enough to be seen. You can't build identity if every moment of clarity gets buried under a joke. And you can't grow if you're constantly running from evaluation. People who fear judgment often fear potential more than failure. It's not that Chandler is afraid he'll try and fail. It's that he's afraid he'll try and succeed and then be held to that standard forever. Success means people expect things. Potential means responsibility. And responsibility means being measured. So he jokes instead. Stay small, stay safe. Growth requires allowing yourself to be evaluated. Not by everyone, not constantly, but by the people who matter in the moments that count. It requires believing that even if someone sees you fully and finds you lacking, you'll survive. That judgment isn't death. That being measured doesn't mean being destroyed. Humor is healthiest when humor follows confidence, not replaces it. When you know who you are, humor enhances, it connects, it lightens without erasing. But when humor is the only way you know how to exist, when every serious moment gets deflected, when you can't sit in silence without filling it with noise, then humor isn't a personality, it's a defense. And defenses, no matter how clever, eventually become cages. The most revealing thing about Chandler isn't what he says, it's what he never lets himself sit with. The silence after someone asks who he really is, the pause before he deflects, the split second when he could be vulnerable but chooses to be funny instead. Because in that split second is the real fear, not that he'll fail, but that he'll finally be seen, measured, and found exactly as lacking as he's always suspected. Sometimes humor isn't a personality, it's a hiding place. a place to retreat when the world asks too much, when expectations feel too heavy, when being yourself without armor feels too dangerous. And it works, for a while, until life demands more, until relationships deepen, until growth requires you to stop deflecting and start defining. So ask yourself, where is humor helping you connect, and where is it helping you avoid? Where are you using jokes to ease tension, and where are you using them to escape evaluation?